Well, good morning and welcome back to a sunny day here in Cambridge. Now, today we're talking solar panels, not the solar panels on the fence, but the ones up on the roof. And specifically, we're going to focus on the north-facing array. Now, if you're new to the channel, on the roof of our house, we have 3 different sets of solar panels. There are those on the garage roof, so we have 4 panels there. They're roughly south by southeast. We have 10 on the main roof facing south by southwest, and then we have a further 8 facing north by northeast. And it's those panels we're going to talk about today. And more importantly, how those panels, which most installers will tell you aren't worth putting on your roof, make me approximately £720 a year. But it's winter. So how have they been performing over the winter? Well, in this video, we're going to look at what the performance has been like, how much did they generate, and then we'll take a retrospective step back and look at the whole of 2025. Sounds like something you're interested in? Then let's get into it.
Okay, so I've come back inside. It is February after all outside, so it is still a little cold despite it being sunny. But as I said in the introduction, we're going to address one of the biggest misconceptions that comes up when people are first looking at putting solar on their house. Now, the installers will come round and they'll do a design, and generally they'll pick your south-facing roof and try and maximize the number of panels that are on there. But when people generally ask about what can I do with my north-facing roof, they get told, don't worry about it, it's not worth it, you'll never get your money back. Well, in previous videos, I've shown that not to be true. But somebody commented recently and said, have you got any up-to-date data? Well, I've got a full set of data from 2025 that I want to share with you today. Now, we're going to start by looking at just the winter. So we'll actually look at November and December, January, February. And we'll take a look at what do the panels generate in the worst months of the year. And spoiler alert, it's not very much. During the winter months, the days are short, the sun is very low in the sky, and those north-facing panels don't see an awful lot of direct sunlight onto them. So really, during those parts of the year, they're there to pick up some ambient light, a little bit of sunshine when we get a nice sunny day like today, but generally they don't contribute a huge amount in those 4 months. But boy, do they make up for it in the rest of the year. So if we look at the winter generation of 2025, so that's January, February, November, December, those panels, the 8 panels that are on the front of the house there, generated 188.26 kilowatt hours. It's a rounding error in the whole year. But at this time of the year, you generally use more energy. Your electricity bills are a lot higher. So anything that we can do to bring those down is a bonus. So over those 4 months, those panels contributed about £54.60 of contribution towards our energy bills. That would be if we had to buy that energy at about 29 pence per kilowatt hour, that's roughly what we'd have been paying for it. So £54, better than nothing. And remember, this is the point of the year where every penny counts. So having £54 off your bill, yes, over a 4-month period, it's not a great amount, but I'll show you how it really makes up for it in the summer. Before we dive into what the numbers were, I think it's worth understanding how I arrive at these numbers. So as you saw in the drone shot at the beginning of the video, my array is broken up into 3 parts. So my garage roof, the south by southeast facing bit, the south by southwest facing 10 panels on the rear roof, and then the 8 panels on the front. Now, every single one of those panels has a solar edge optimizer attached to them. That means I can track every single panel down to the individual panel and tell you exactly what that panel produced on a day, on a week, on a month, or across the whole year. Now, this all gets reported up into the Solar Edge app, and then I can download that data and do what I want with it. But this lets me see exactly when the sun comes up on the height of summer's day on the 21st of June, we start to see those panels generating at about just before 5 a.m. in the morning. and they will continue to generate in the height of the summer all the way around till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, with that visualization, we can actually look at it and say, well, what's it going to do in the height of the summer? What's it going to do in the height of winter? On the 21st of December, they don't produce a great deal. But this is the challenge. It's not to try and look at it from a, well, they don't produce very much in the winter, because over the course of a whole year, those panels really pay for themselves. So to put it into perspective, that one array of 8 panels sitting on my north by northeast facing roof generated 2,476.65 kilowatt hours in 2025. So for the whole year, 2.4 megawatts from the north facing array. Again, if we'd have bought that energy from the grid at about 29 pence per kilowatt hour, that would have been £718.23. Now in the winter, we only generate 188.26. So those 4 winter months generated about 7.5% of the year's generation. So again, in the winter, they don't do a great deal, but in the rest of the year, they more than make up for it. So again, we go from 188 kilowatts to 2.4, nearly 2.5 megawatts across the whole year. So the winter share, the winter 4 months generate about 7.6% of the total. The rest of the year generates 92.4% of the total. So combine that with the panels on the rear roof and on the garage, and the whole system generates about 8.6 megawatt hours every single year. Now, 2025 was a bit of an outlier. It was a really nice summer, really started really early in the spring. So we're not going to get 8.6 megawatts from that system every single year. But we will get similar numbers to that. Now, as I said, the north-facing array as a part of the whole generates about 28.7%. So yeah, almost a third. Now, given the aspect and the fact that there are higher wattage panels on the back roof, I wouldn't expect it to be exactly a third. But if you want the numbers for each array, the 4 panels on the garage roof did about 1.5 megawatts. The rear south by southwest facing array did about 4.6 megawatts. And then, as I said, the north facing array did about 2.4 megawatts. But if we just look at that north facing array again, that's over £700 a year from panels that most installers tell you don't bother installing, you won't get your money back. So what did we do with that 8.6 megawatts of annual generation? Well, we self-consumed an awful lot of it. We have a couple of electric vehicles and we charge our house batteries so that we can run our house during the night. We run our heat pump. We even in the summer months, we run a hot tub from that. And we export a significant quantity of that to gain some credits so that we can offset our winter bills. But the great thing about this is those savings come every single year. The system, as it is right now, has been stable and installed for quite a few years. We've got enough data that we can look at it and we can be pretty confident in our predictions of exactly how much money it's going to make. Now, there'll be people jumping in the comments and saying, but if you invested that money in a stocks and shares ISA, it'd probably give you a better return. I disagree with that, because a stocks and shares ISA, although it's relatively safe and providing you're managing your money correctly, you can probably get a decent return of it between 6 and 12%, depending on the year. But solar and batteries will produce year on year on year, decade upon decade upon decade. Typical panels, when you buy them now, they come with a 25-year warranty. That's because it doesn't mean that they stop working after 25 years. It's just that's what the manufacturer says that they will last and they will warranty their work for. Now, if you're going to be putting scaffolding up around your house to put solar panels on the rear roof, it won't actually cost that much more to put scaffolding to get access to the front roof, depending on the size of the house, obviously. But it would cost you a lot more later if you wanted a completely separate scaffold rig to do it retrospectively. So scaffolding can be quite a chunk of your installation cost. So have a think when you're installing it, is it worth, while the guys are on the roof, getting them to do those front panels? Now, what's a typical system likely to generate over the life of a system, maybe 25 to 30 years? Well, obviously, if I knew that, I'd be a very rich man because I'd be able to predict the future. But if we assume that 2025 was a peak year, that we're never going to see more solar than that, and what we'll see is a year like that come around about once a decade. So again, very simplistic model. Every year from the peak, it will reduce by 5% per year until it reaches the bottom, and then it will increase by 5% a year. So at the end of the decade, we get another peak year. If we work on that as a model for our how much sunshine we're going to get onto our panels, and we work on the principle that electricity prices will rise by an average of about 3% annually, that means over the course of the lifetime of those panels, and we're just talking the front-facing panels here, the north-facing ones, they would generate about £31,500 in profits because you'll have paid for them long ago. So when they tell you it's not worth it, think about the lifespan of the system. Think about how long you're going to be in that house. Would it be nice to have an extra £31,500 on top of everything that you're earning from your south-facing array, or in my case, my south-facing array, my garage array, and my fence panel array? But an extra £31,000 for what might be a relatively small uplift in cost, because the panels themselves don't cost that much. The scaffolding, if you've already got it up, then make use of it. So it really is just about the mounting and the wiring and the people to actually do the work. So for a small extra increase on what you were planning already, could return a huge return on your investment. So the final takeaway from this is north-facing panels are not useless. It is not wasted roof space. You are not just spending money that you'll never get that money back from. In fact, and the kind of returns that I'm seeing from mine, they would pay for themselves in just a couple of years. So they really do give a real financial saving by installing them as part of a larger system. Now, if you've only got a north-facing roof, you don't have any south-facing aspects, it's going to take longer to return that investment. But it doesn't mean that they won't work for you. So with that, I'm going to sign off. If you do have any questions, then please do leave them in the comments below. Always happy to engage with anybody who's got any questions, or if you think somehow I've got my numbers wrong, then please let me know in the comments below. Before you go, just a quick one to ask if you could, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. It really does mean a lot and it really helps the channel out. And for those of you that have joined up as members of the channel, thank you very much. Your membership means the world to me. With that, I'm going to get out of here. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you back here real soon for another video. Take care. Bye-bye.